G'day, it's Emmy. I thought I would talk about something that's been bugging me for a while, and it's about Sherrilyn Kenyon's books. So, The League and the Dark Hunter series are both real favourites of mine. The Dark Hunter series, which is a change on the vampire hunters mythology, and The League, which is about aliens in the future. I kind of started to find some similarities, mainly between the main characters and their twin brothers. So just some background on these characters. In the Dark Hunter series, Ash, or Acheron, is, I would say, the lead the main character up until a point. He's in most of the books, if not all of them, and he's the go-to guy for advice. With the Dark Hunters, the immortal vampire hunters, he is seen as their leader. They go to him for advice and he helps them out, and most of the time he helps them get their souls back. And then in the League, Nikirian is the leader of the Centella. He started the organization and he leads it. So in the Dark Hunter series, Ash was the child of the Atlantean gods Apollomy and Archon, whatever. And when the Fates made a prophecy that he would destroy the Atlantean pantheon, Archon decided to kill his child, his unborn child. Apollomy refused because she'd wanted a child for so long and he wasn't taking her child from her. She took the baby from her body and made her cousin put it into the womb of a pregnant queen, hoping that the royals would protect him, and made sure that the king and queen knew that their second child was a child of the gods, and that their own child's life was tied to the godling, so that if the godling died, their child would as well. In this way, they would protect the child as if it was their own. This backfired, however, as the king thought it was more that his wife had been unfaithful, and that it was her child plus a god's, and so the Ash at the age of 7 was given to his father's brother, who trained him as a sex slave, until his 21st birthday. So he had a shit time until he turned 21, realized that he was a god, got his god powers, but still life was shit until his sister died, which was sad. It was that his sister was the only person in his family that was trying to help him. She got murdered, and then Apollo killed Ash, finding out that he was a god, and he was also screwing at Artemis. It was just, all these things were happening. And then Ash spent the last 11,000 years dealing with the Dark Hunters, who are trying to, which is all this lore. It is in book 15 in the Dark Hunter series when you find out all of this. Up until this point, Ash has been just, no one knows anything about him. No one knows his age, no one knows anything, just he's all-knowing, and he will answer no personal questions. But they don't even know his own hair color because he's constantly changing it. You find out all his backstory on him, but the one thing is for certain, his twin brother is shown in a very bad light. It is agreed upon that he was a dick, and when he shows up in another book, in an earlier book, he's on the bad guy's side. He's teamed up against them, and he just wants to kill Ash because he would like to die, because since Ash is immortal, now he's immortal as well. In the case of the League, Nikirian's book is number 1, and you find out a lot about him straight up. So he was the son of the heir of the Andarian Empire and of this other empire that I can't quite remember right now. And when he was a small child, his mother cast him aside. He went to a human orphanage where he was brutalized because he's a mixed race, so he's half Andarian, half human. Andarians have been warring against humans for a while, and known to eat humans, so they weren't exactly happy about having him there. He went to school with his twin brother, who was bullying him and got him framed for stealing his royal ring, where he was put into prison with pedophiles and rapists at 14. He became an assassin, and he just had a very shit upbringing. His brother handed over his pregnant wife to his adopted brother, who was trying to get revenge on him for killing the other adopted brother. Again, twin brother shown in a bad light. Both of these brothers, Ash and Nikirian, are the eldest. Though Ash is believed to be the youngest for most of his life, it is only until he gets his god powers when he finds out that he's actually the oldest. Or was his sister told him? I think his sister told him. He found out when he was living in the palace that he found out that he was actually the eldest and therefore the heir. Book 23 of the Dark Hunter series is Ash's twin brother's story. Here we find out that Styx has had just as bad an upbringing as Ash. His father didn't trust that he was his own son, that he was actually the godson, possibly, that it did switch to make fun of him or trick him. So he didn't really believe that Styx was his child. His sister believed that he was being spoiled and was an absolute bitch to him, constantly turning against him. No one could be as good as her younger brother Ash. Styx was constantly raped by his uncle whenever he came to visit after the age, I think, of 14. He had this ability to read people's minds. He had no control over it. He could hear everyone's thoughts except for 2 people. I think it's found out that only 2 people he can't hear their thoughts. His wife and his son. He gets terrible nosebleeds. He feels everything Ash feels. So if Ash gets beaten, Styx feels it. When Ash was getting a very severe beating, Styx couldn't hide feeling it, and they believed that he was possessed. So he was sent to a temple where they tortured him for months to try and get the demons out. He was 10 or 12, some ridiculously young age. He was sent to war at 17, I think it was 17, 16, where everyone was like, oh, this empire is making fun of us for sending a child to lead the army, not a wise old general. They're mocking us. They want us to die. Styx proved himself, but he was betrayed by other Greek armies. He was taken by the Apollo, took a certain liking to him. So while Apollo's actual mistress was Styx's sister, Apollo only agreed to it to get closer to Styx. So Apollo was constantly attacking him. He got once when he was just too angry at Apollo took him to Olympus, where he was raped there, and then he was given to the Atlanteans, who had been warring against. So the Atlantean gods had their fun and then gave them to the humans, so they were having their fun. Styx had a couple of suicide attempts, but because Ash was still alive, Styx couldn't die. Where Ash healed completely, Styx didn't. So Styx would get stabbed and he would not die from it, but he would still have that injury. So he can't move most of the fingers on his right hand due to a stab wound. His sister tried to kill him. Ash tried to kill him. His father cut his arm to see if he bled. So his mum tried to kill him when he was trying to give her her birthday present. Yes, he did end up falling in love with an Atlantean goddess, who was the daughter of the Atlantean goddess of woe and Set, the Egyptian god. She was not aware that he was the Atlantean, the Greek prince. So when she did find out, she panicked and didn't talk to him, just pissed off. She found out later that he'd been taken by the Atlanteans, rescued him. She got pregnant. They were going to get married. They say that they're married, but I was very confused because they hadn't actually had their wedding yet, but Styx future refers to her as his wife. Ash's mum, when Ash got killed, and then Styx got killed because Ash got killed by Apollo, Apollonie got freed because since she hid Ash from the rest of the Atlantean gods. As punishment, they stuck her in hell. So she got free when Ash died, and so she attacked all of the Atlantean gods and ripped Styx and Beth's child from her womb, and then stoned, petrified, all the Atlantean gods got turned to stone. So did that to Beth, and it's believed that both mother and child are dead. Styx is then left for 11,000 years on an island in the underworld by himself for 11,000 years. At a certain point, he forgot language because there was no one to talk to. Again, because he was by himself, he didn't have a chance to really move on from Beth, so it was 11,000 years of depression missing her, as well as making a lot of sandcastles. He couldn't escape he had many attempts to try and escape from the island, but it never worked. There was no meat. There was meat. There was meat. There was sheep and stuff, so he had to hunt to survive. And then the reason why he attempted to kill Ash back in the other book was because he just wanted it all to end. He was done. He wanted to go see his wife and his child in the afterlife. He just wanted it over, and the only way to do that was to do it to Ash, and he was giving Ash a lot of warning and heads up, going like, I am gunning for you. Be ready for me. Yeah, and then the amount of times Ash discarded him, he was constantly being deserted. And I came to realize that Styx is actually my favorite character of this series. He's so nice, he's so open, but also what depresses me is that I know that if I saw both Ash and Styx in front of me, I would be more attracted to Ash. And that hurts, because I like Styx more. Which is actually really painful for me to admit, because I really did like Ash. Ash was my favorite character until book 23. So this is one thing where twin brothers, one was perceived the good guy, one was perceived the bad guy. Until a book later reveals that they're both good and they've both misunderstood their childhoods. Styx was aware of Ash's childhood and he tried to help, but Ash stopped letting him. And Ash did betray him at one stage during their childhood. So that's the Dark Hunter twins. Julian is Nikirion's twin. He was perceived as the spoiled prince and no one took pity on him. He was not allowed to see his mother because after Nikirion died, she went insane. She was diagnosed with being crazy because she was convinced that Nikirion was alive and she wanted to search for him. So they had her on medication, and Julian set her off because Julian looks like so Nikirian and Julian are not identical. Ash and Styx are. So Julian looks like the brother of his mother who tried to kill her. So when she sees him, she freaks out. So Julian discovered that his entire life, his mother has never touched him. He nearly died of starvation as a baby. Because no one would feed him. His mother didn't hold him. He was never baptized. His cousins were drugging him against his will and making it very obvious by injecting him in the neck, so the scars showed. He was constantly trying to go to his father's empire, but his father kept sending him home. His grandmother, had a dungeon from her closet. The stairs was the hidden door was in a closet, and that was underneath the castle. He was kept there on several different occasions. He tried, the framing of his brother with the ring was to try and get his brother out before anyone realized, because he was convinced that his grandmother and his cousins and all that would try and kill him if they discovered that his brother was still alive. So he was just trying to get him out, but it was perceived as bad. He was lashing out when he betrayed his brother's wife, because he overheard his mother and his aunt discussing him being raped in prison, and how they would pay money to see it. He felt so betrayed. He just lashed out, and he was really sorry about it. But again, the younger twin has just as shit a life as the elder twin, if not slightly more, depending on views. Why'd you do it to me twice? I was like, oh, what a twist. The twin brother is just as shit, and now this. So yes, that was just my rant about how she used the same idea twice on me. I didn't like that.